So, hello everyone. The subject today is, for me, is going to be to tell you a story. I'm not going to go deep into what is event sourcing and what you can do with event sourcing. I'm here to tell you how I happen to understand things about event sourcing and what I could get from that. So first, this is me, Jean Palie. I'm a freelancer. I'm from France, and I spend most of my work days nowadays doing mob programming remotely, which is really nice. And I'm a gamer. You can fairly say that. Not only video games. I mostly play board games, but I play video games too. So now, for the story, when I was a student, I was studying computer science, and one day after a really heavy course about video encoding, psychovisual compression, MPEG and stuff, my head was full, and I came back home and I thought, I can't work right now, so I'm going to watch something. I didn't have any television, so I did what at that time, it was in the early 2000s, I found really fun to do, which was download the latest replay from a tournament of Warcraft 3 and just watch it. So I did as usual without thinking. So I got a 500 kilobyte file for about 30 minutes of gameplay, and I started watching it. But just before that, it went through my replay analysis tool. I had one that I used for myself. It was a small tool that in something like half a second could open a replay, give me statistics, give me information about who had won, who had lost, how, what was done, what was built, what resources were used, everything. And statistics such as actions per minute and stuff like this. So it could also, when you were playing, after a game was finished, it found the latest replay file and rename it, depending on something you told it to do. So to me, that was completely normal. It was a tool I had installed and never thought about it, and just thought it was convenient. So I was watching my replay. I was really happy with that. And something like, when you've had many complex stuff that got into your brain, you can't really, I can't really, process them easily. I have to do something else. It slowly fades away, and then the important questions pop. So that's what happened, and I thought, what's going on? I've just downloaded, even though my internet in the early 2000s wasn't that fast, I just downloaded a really small file, and I've been watching for 15 minutes of a game, and to me, a replay was something exactly I would watch like in sports or anything. You just record something, you've got the video, and then you watch it. Brilliant. So, and then I thought, I've just had a massive course about video encoding, and I can't understand how you can have such a small file with such a long footage in it. So obviously I was a student, so my first instinct was, well, damn, the teachers lied to us. There's something much better going on, and you can make really small videos and, but then the replay analysis tool just got into my head, and I thought, come on, even if you could compress data that much, I can't understand how you would build a tool that would watch that video and extract all those data in half a second. So, I used to say that I understand things quite fast if you repeat them long enough to me. So I had several epiphanies there. So the first one was they're not videos. Yeah, right. So yeah, I'm not that clever, but I got that. So they're not videos, definitely not. And then I don't know why, but I thought they're an event log. So in fact, it's just everything that happened in the game, and that's being replayed again. It's called a replay, right? So yeah, so I was really happy with myself, I thought really longer about this, and I'm going to talk about this a bit. But eventually, I started looking on the web about it, like a few days later, and it was written in the FAQ all along. So I could have just looked. Yeah, right. So the FAQ used to say this, that you can't rewind replays because it's not a video, right? So what it says, and that's going to be one of the important things, it's they store the user interface commands that took place in the game, which is not totally true, but it's important. So you can't rewind replays. You couldn't. So I had also an issue with that. It was that, I'll rephrase what they say, is you've got everything that's been done by the players, and the game engine replays it. In fact, you're not watching a replay. It's not a real replay. What you're watching is if it's a game with two people, it's two AIs that are doing another game, and they're playing exactly the same thing that the humans have done. So that's what you're watching. You're watching AIs redoing exactly the same thing. So it's easy to do in a game system because you've got the game engine. So the game engine just does it again, loads the same map, does exactly the same thing. But then what happens is games, they have versions and patches, and the game engine changes. And at that time, if you had a new version, all the previous replay files weren't usable anymore. So that was really annoying to me because I had players that I really loved and I wanted to watch their games. And as I said, it was a while back, so YouTube and stuff didn't exist. Because now you don't wonder, you've got Twitch and things. So, but at the time, that was annoying. So, but then it occurred to me that it was not event sourcing. It was not. They were not using events. And they said so in the FAQ. It's not events they were storing commands. And that's really different. It's the commands from the player. It's not things that happened in the game. It's what the players asked of the game that was stored. So that's interesting because that was in 2003 or something like this. So nobody was talking about this. I was really naive at that time because I really thought that, when a programmer found something that worked, he would tell everyone, and everyone would know. And I really thought that game developers were people that were talking all the time with people who develop stuff for banks. Well, it happens they don't. So, in fact, that distinction was not even when Martin Fowler wrote for the first time his article about event sourcing. It got confused with command sourcing. It was Jeremy who pointed that out, and who put the name command sourcing on it. So that was interesting because I was, understanding this, and at first I thought, well, that's nice. I know now that I can, store either events, because there were events from the game. There's the event that a player has left. There's not the command I want to leave. That's the event a player has left. There's the event the game has decided that someone has won. So there were events mixed with commands. So I was understanding that you could store events, you could store commands, and then I was thinking, well, as I said, I'm not that bright. So I thought, well, yeah, but that just applies to video games. That's unusable in other fields. But on the next day, I thought I could use that in many other places. So, and I was truly under the impression that everyone knew about this. Yeah, I was just like, I had found that out all by myself. It was written in the FAQ all along, so like, no need to talk about it. So now, I'll first talk a bit about what are in replay files nowadays, because technologies have evolved a bit. So now you've got rewindable replays, but you can rewind for only a few seconds. You've got access to more data, because for a time in some games you even had access to, concerning professional gamers, to sensors on the body of the gamers, right? If that's interesting to someone. And you can sync with voice, and you can watch any replay from any version, but oddly, the replays are now huge. Like, for a game like Dota 2, it's several hundreds of megabytes, one replay. So, but they're not video, because you can replay in the game engine. You can change every single thing of the game. You can change settings. You can see what one player sees and not the others. And you can even now pause and say, I'm taking command. And I'm issuing commands for a few seconds just to check. So AIs are going to take control of the other players. And you can check whether something could have changed. You know, like in that situation, would that unit have died if it had jumped that way? And then, oh no, yeah, it could have been done. So that's interesting. So technology has evolved a bit, and replays, even in Warcraft 3 now, because people are still maintaining it. So you can now see replays from previous versions. So you know, well, brilliant. So what did I learn by doing that? The first thing I learned was that you should share with other developers what you've found out. You should also, and that's something that I try to do all the time, is when I use a piece of software, any piece of software, game, anything, I try to wonder how I would have done anything I see. And that's, and also, the last thing that I learned about this is that many people ask me, nowadays, they ask me, what's event sourcing, how does it work, and what's command sourcing, and what are the issues. And in fact, there are plenty of examples, and those examples, the funny part is that they predate the time when people were talking about event-based architectures. So, but on the other part, I also noticed that game developers, as of now, don't really have knowledge about what we now have done with event sourcing. So there's something to be done about sharing in our community. So that's me trying to do something. And last thing I learned is that I didn't see in any of the blogs and Wikipedia and stuff that I follow about programming in video game industry that really seriously talks about replay systems. So if you see Wikipedia page popping about this, it's going to be me like this weekend, right? So thank you. Do you have any questions? Yeah. As I said, I'm not really clever, so I'm not sure I can answer them, but go on.
Do you have an example of the project you were on where you applied?
All right. So I've only applied event sourcing a tiny bit by myself on pet projects, because every single time I tried to put it, it was refused by people who didn't understand it. So that's also, I also worked a lot about how to tell about it. And on the project I'm working right now, everyone in the company agrees that it should have been written in event sourcing, but it wasn't, and no one wants to rewrite it, but my team and I. So, well, we're contractors and we can't choose, but yeah, I wrote like, for them, I wrote three, my team and I, not only me, we wrote three proof of concepts that were really good, performance-wise and usage-wise, but you know, the choice is not in our hands there. So, right. So that's it. Thank you.